Okay, we're going to talk about resetting adapters today, and been some questions on this. And I believe it was the 604 that came out with this technology first, also known as the Ultra Drive. It was back then, it was called CVIs, Clutch Volume Index. And a little bit later on, they allowed you to do a quick learn, which would learn the shifts very quickly, actually while you're sitting still, and then you could go out and drive it and it would fine tune it. A little bit later on, you was even able to do a pinion factor, where you could reset the computer for different tire sizes and such. And even later on, they came out with a battery reset. Now, if you have the ability to do a battery reset, you're going to want to do that first. Actually, the first thing you're going to want to do is go in and clear codes. Even if it says it doesn't have any codes, clear the codes. Then do a battery reset if it's available. Then do the reset the adapters. Then do a quick learn, and then go do a road test. Not every one of them are going to have quick learns in them. In fact, most of them don't, but it's getting to be more of a thing where you can do a quick learn. So you're going to want to do all that. Almost every transmission now has where it learns the shifts, and it does adapters for the shifts. So why do we want to do reset the adapters? Well, the computer is compensated for a problem that you had. Let's say you have a clutch pack that's just totally wiped out. I mean, it just decimated it. It has learned values for that clutch in that state. And if you don't go in and clear it out, it's still going to try to compensate for that condition. Yes, it will eventually learn its way out of it, but you may burn it up again before it can do that. So we want to go in, start with a clean slate, act like it's a brand new transmission, and reset the learned values. This puts it into what is a quick learn sort of type of deal, where you've gotten rid of the values, so it learns it very quickly instead of very slowly like it does later on. Once you get to a certain point, it goes into a slow compensation instead of a quick compensation. So we need to go in and reset all that. Some things that you're going to want to be aware of before you do it. Some vehicles will not do a reset unless you have a quarter tank of gas. I would turn everything off in the vehicle, air, radio, all that kind of stuff. Make sure that you got a good battery, make sure your connections are good. And then once you do all that, then you can turn all that stuff back on. If you have not programmed the vehicle, if you've changed the valve body, if you have not programmed the vehicle for that valve body, this may not do you any good at all. Some people think that you can just throw a valve body on, not programmed for the strategy that's in there. Sometimes you can get by with that, most times you can't. So if you haven't programmed the valve body to the vehicle, I wouldn't even mess with any of this stuff until you do that. And then once you do that, you can do everything else. There's too many variations on road test requirements and how you get to all this stuff to do it. But the few I'm going to show you here, everything is some variation of that. Now your road test, you're going to have to look it up because there's so many variations on it. It's not even funny. And some of them are really particular about what you do. And if you screw up any step, even in resetting the adaptives, or if you screw up a step in the road test, you're going to have to start all over. And some of these take a long time to do. 10R80s, 8L90s, they can take about an hour to do all this stuff if you need to do it. Some of these require you to have a good stretch of road, and you have to keep it at a certain throttle angle. You can't go above it, can't go below it, you can't touch the brake, and you got to upshift to all the gears and then let it coast down to a stop. That takes a lot of room, and that's very hard to do in most places. So you have situations like that. I had a buddy that had a Lexus. He couldn't get it to relearn, and he was having trouble and finally found out you had to do something really stupid. I think it had something to do with the sunroof and the driver's window. You had to open the sunroof and roll down. I don't know. It was really crazy. So you never know what you're going to be dealing with. So we'll get into this, show you some of them, and then it's up to you to have to find out what your road test is going to require. And some of these will, after you do the initial learn, if you have problems with a certain shift or a certain problem, it will allow you to work on just that one problem instead of doing the whole thing over again. So, all right, let's get into this. Okay, some of you have been asking how to do reset the adapts on vehicles, and since I don't have the main guy that normally does this here, radio's not playing out in the shop, so we can do this. And you have to bear with me because I do not normally do this, so we're going to work through this. It's been a while. See if this one still pulls up. Apparently, there it is. So the first thing we're going to do is go through here and see if we have any codes. Because we have to clear the codes out first. Now, I'm not really concerned with what is in here at the moment, because there may be codes in here that wouldn't normally be here because it was pushed outside. So we're just going to go through, let all the systems pull their codes up, and we're going to go in and we're going to erase them. And this can take a while, depending on the vehicle. Okay, so now we're going to back out. is you cannot reset adapts or do any quick learns, any of that, when there's codes in the system. And some of these vehicles will not reset their adapts and relearn if you have less than a quarter of a tank of gas. So make sure that you got all that. Okay, usually you need the engine off. On this one, it should be in functional tests. We're going to go into clear transmission adaptive tables. We're going to click continue. It's already reset them. So we exit out. We'll exit out of this. And it doesn't matter where we go right now. I'm going to go to codes menu. That way, if anything comes up on the road test, it'll show up. Alright. Go ahead and start this up. Let me put my seatbelt on. Alright, I'm going to have to get out and move my side mirror out so I can see. Didn't even think about that. Let me do that. Get some air on the situation. Alright, this may not shift very well when we first take off. We'll watch our RPMs there. Usually we get all kinds of flare shifts and stuff like that. Sometimes you do, sometimes you don't. We're going to drive fairly easy till we get some shifts underneath our belt. And since I don't have nobody to hold this camera, it may not be very stable. Alright, there's kind of bumpy shifts, flared shifts right there. I don't know if I mentioned what tranny this is. It's a 6R80. Sometimes it's difficult to get a good road test, especially depending on the time of day. Some transmissions you can do a quick learn, some you can't. And some are really difficult procedures to do. Got just under a quarter tank of gas. Hopefully this thing will relearn. Some vehicles it matters, some it doesn't. If you get one that will not relearn and you got less than a quarter tank of gas, I would go put gas in it, see if it will do it after that. Alright, feel what might be some misfires. So, let's see if we can do this while we're sitting still. Alright. Kind of hard to work this camera and drive properly. Yeah, let me pull over here. And we're going to go into the engine side. And let's see if we got it in data display. Sometimes it's not there. And misfire data, that's what we want. Now sometimes it's not in here, and you can go to functional tests and you can go to the cylinder balance or contribution, whatever it may say, one of those two things, and you can look at it there. We do have a misfire on cylinder 2 for sure. We'll see how much and if any of these others are misfiring while we're driving. So we know we got a misfire on 2, so let's go up here and see what 1 through 4 is doing. This is a little bit on the difficult side. We got us a hell of a glare. Sometimes you can feel the misfires and they won't even show up on here. Like I'm already feeling them. And it is not showing up on the scanner. So, let's see where I can put this camera. I'm going to end up dropping something I know I am. It's just not working. And of course somebody's going to come in behind me. Let's see if we can get this to show up. You can try to get around 44, 45 miles an hour up, going slightly up a hill. Like right there. That is a shutter. A shutter and a misfire can feel real similar, but they are slightly different. And if you get some experience underneath your belt, you're going to be able to tell the difference between them. See if we can get this to stand up. The 6R80s are real prone to shutters, so we're going to go back to the shop and we are going to get the additive that Ford has, and we're going to try that. If that does not work, maybe having to get a different torque converter. Maybe something wrong with this converter. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and shut the camera off right now. I'm going to get the additive in here and go drive it and see if the shutter is gone. And if it is, we'll come back. If it's not, once we get a different torque converter, we'll be back. Oh, man. Hard to hold this and keep from messing everything up. Alright, we'll be back. Okay, it appears that our shutter is gone. and keep driving it and see how it does. But seems to be gone. The best way to find your misfires and your shutters is to get your vehicle pretty warm, especially for misfires. Get your vehicle pretty warm and get around 40. Actually going a little too fast right now. You want to get down around about 43, 44, no more than about 45, 46 miles an hour. And if you can get a slight incline to where you're just barely having to push into the accelerator to keep up your speed, that's when it's going to really show up. Unless you got really bad misfires. Now, the misfire is going to feel more like a fish bite. A shutter is going to feel more like you're running over a rumble strip. That's kind of the best way I can describe it. It takes a lot of driving them and experiencing each one, and you'll eventually get to where you can say, yes, this is a misfire, or no, it's a shutter. So that's the best I can tell you on that. So I'm going to continue driving this, and we'll see what happens with it.
Okay guys, today we are working on a 2018 Chevy Colorado with the 3.6 engine liter, and this transmission is gonna be the AL45. Basically what we're going to do right here, after the transmission is being installed by the R&R and fill it up with fluid, we got to go back on the transmission section. I'm using the Solus H scanner, Snap-on. What you need to do is just go on the transmission side, click on it, and we're going to do the relearn on this one. On some scanners will be completely different, but trying to find functional tests or testing procedures. Right here we're gonna go all the way to the bottom to the functional test. We're gonna click on it, and from there you will see out there on the bottom it will say first learn adapt process. We got to go on there, click on it, and right here it will show you a message where it needs to be the temperature 166 67, I'm sorry, Fahrenheit, before we do the procedure. So let's check it out. Where's the temperature right now? It will take it down to this screen. I mean, you can see right there is 166. Right here the current temperature is 165. So let's warm it out a little bit more in order to make the test. Obviously I will not recommend you to take it on a test drive before we do all this kind of process, because it will cause the transmission to sleep very bad on it. So before you take on a test drive, let's do this before, that way you can save some time and not give you a headache trying to figure out what's going on with it. So right now what I'm doing, I'm just stepping a little bit, very light on the throttle, just to increase the temperature. Once the temperature reaches to the point, it will take you to another step where it's going to start doing the fast learn procedure. I'm sorry. Okay, as you can see, temperature reached to the point, and it tells you apply and hold the brake, shift the shifter into the gear into drive position. So let's follow the instructions. Let's step on the brake, move the shifter on drive position, and then hit continue. From this point, the transmission basically will start kind of launching forward and back. You will feel some hard engagement too. In one point the transmission will not do anything at all. It's just like you sitting, you know, on a stoplight. Sometimes it will increase the RPM. It's part of the process. If you remove the brake on it, if you release the brake, the test will be completely abort on it. So make sure you step on the brake pedal until the screen tells you to put the shifter back on park and release the brake. As you can see right now, it's not doing anything. The RPM is pretty steady, but I will show you once the RPM increase and do all the launch and all that kind of stuff. You can see out there where the RPM went down a little bit, up and down. You might be able to hear it, but you can hear some noises underneath on the transmission. That's purging all the solenoids on the valve body. Okay guys, now let's see on the screen it says fast learn procedure complete. As you guys can see, it's not just the simple test that you get on the function and the screen, and you press one of the selections and it will clear the adapts and all that kind of procedures. It's not like that. This one, it takes a little bit longer, so just to be aware that you're gonna be spending I didn't do the whole full video because I mean it's just I had to raise it up the temperature in order to do the test, but it's gonna take you guys at least 7 to 10 minutes to do this procedure. So just follow the instructions and you will be a success on it. And then from here, what you do is just place your transmission back in park, exit the test, and then you can turn off the key and open the driver door for 30 seconds. You have to do this in order before you test drive it, because if you put it on gear, you turn it on and you put it on gear on reverse or drive, if you're familiar with these kind of procedures, you will see there is no engagement. Don't freak out, it's just not enough time in order to do it, to the computer do all the process. So let's go ahead and do all this. Already got it on park, so from here you guys can take it to a test drive. Thanks for watching. Okay guys, today we are working on a 2016 Ford Focus with the 2.0 with the famous dual clutch transmission. The if I don't make a mistake, also DPS6 transmission. Today we are gonna do the relearn process after the technician being installed the new clutch with the forks and all the components inside on the kit. On this one we did have a code for one of the shift motors. I believe it was element A, and we did swap it, and now we're gonna do the relearn procedure. Obviously you can see we're using a snap-on scanner, so it might be different for different scanners. But this one is how you do it. Obviously you press continue to step forward, It looks like it's already on transmission mode. What we're going to do is go to functional test all the way to the bottom, transmission adaptive learning. And here's some description that you have to do. The car will launch forward, stuff like that, once that you step on the brake. Pretty much it's like a quick learn procedure, like if you're familiar with the Dutch quick learns. It cannot do the same thing. Obviously you have to real step, be firm on the brake, otherwise we'll be abort the procedure, the learning. So let's do this. Make sure the ignition switch is on. It's already on. We're going to go all the way down to clutch. Select that, and here's telling you that make sure you turn off all the accessories, the radio, the air conditioning, the headlights. No accessories at all. Turn on it, please. It's saying set the ignition switch on position, which is already on. Make sure the transmission is on park. Okay, so it is on park. Depress the brake pedal and hold. And here we go. Now you have to, basically the scanner will tell you everything what to do, all the steps you have to do. Have to wait for 10 seconds. Okay, right now it's doing all the tests on the actually components on the transmission. Everything seems to be passed. Now they're doing for the clutch, the shift drums, and the gear commands and neutrals, and the clutch trouble test unit A and B. Seems to be passed. Now we're going to start the engine and let it run for 5 seconds, and then hit continue. Okay, car's on. Just remember, make sure the radio, the air conditioning and the headlights are completely off. Okay, make sure the gear selector is in park and the press and brake pedal and hold it. Press the accelerator pedal to the floor so the engine reaches the maximum speed during the wide open throttle. Select continue after pressing and holding the accelerator gas pedal all the way to the wide open throttle. Basically when I put the with one foot you're going to use to step on the brake, and with the other one you're going to step on the throttle without putting on gear, just on park. Step on the throttle all the way to the floor. Make sure it's wide open and then press continue. Okay, here we go. Let's see that. Alright, then we're going to hit continue. The scanner will tell you when to release the gas pedal. Okay, return to idle. Make sure the idle go back to normal. There you go. And then hit continue. Okay, and he'll tell you again to make sure the AC compressor, radio and all that stuff is been off. Depress the brake and pedal, the brake pedal, and hold it. Okay, hit OK, and then right there the RPM is trying to be setting down to stabilize the engine speed. Continue to press and hold the brake pedal. Out there obviously you can see the countdown, so we're gonna wait for 20 seconds holding the brake pedal. Okay, right there is doing the performing the function on the gear switch shaft A. Okay, seems to be okay. Now we move into the shaft B. Okay, right there it says clutch additive learn successful. Right there is your learn touch points on A and B. It's very important to do the learning on the clutch the way that we did it just a few seconds ago, because if you take off driving the car like that without setting the relearn, the car will sleep and kind of have delays, and it's gonna work all kind of funky, funny, and it's gonna be your technician will be coming to you and telling you, hey, the transmission is not working fine, or the clutch is sleeping, and you know it's doing this, it's doing that. Well, it's basically because they didn't did the relearn. So to avoid that, let's do the relearn. Let's take some. It only takes few seconds, few minutes. I'm sorry, to do this procedure. And again, it's gonna be very important, because sometimes when you're trying to force the car, because it already happened to me, when you put it in reverse, it doesn't have no reverse, and if you're forcing it, you will set some codes. It's not even because it's something wrong with it, but it's because you're forcing it. It will throw a code for an element A or B, or forks stuck off and stuff like that. So let's avoid that, and let's do the let's take a few minutes and do it the right way. That way you can, when you get done, you can just go on a test drive. Yeah, sometimes they're gonna do a little bit of flare on it, but it's just part of the process. They is relearning once that you're driving it, but it will not sleep, it will not fall out of gear, it will not lose engagement, stuff like that. Okay, we'll talk to you later. Thank you.
Okay, now we're going to do a Dodge 45 RF, actually 65 RFE. So we're going to go in here, codes menu, check the codes. Actually, I think we're on the engine side, so we'll go ahead and we'll clear these. And we'll back out and go to the tranny side. And check the codes here. No codes present. We are going to clear the codes anyway. Go back, and we're going to go down to system tests, and we're going to do the quick learn. Click continue. Brake pedal must be depressed. Set the parking brake, and then hit continue. Move the shifter to drive. Move the shifter to neutral. Shift the transmission to drive. Shift it to park. We are complete. Alright, now you just test drive it and make sure your shifts are good, and then we're done with this one. Okay, today we got a 4L60E. This is one of the easier ones to do. We're going to go into codes first, and we're going to clear out the codes even if it says it has none. says it has none. We'll go into clear codes, clear them anyway. We'll go back out, go to functional tests, and we're going to go to clear trans adapts, and we're going to hit clear. Alright, we're going to back out and go to the engine side and go to data display and go to engine data, and let's find where it's at. Engine load, that's what we want right there. So we're going to go out here, we're going to let this shift a few times, and then we're going to check the what do they call the thing, I'll think about it and it'll come to me. Okay, now we're going to check volumetric efficiency. What you're going to want to do is find some place where there's no vehicles around, and you're going to hold your gas pedal to the floor. As it makes the 1-2 shift, you want to see what that engine load says. It should be 90% or higher. You really want above 95%. You want it closer to 98, 99%. Let's see what this one does. Let's see if I can get a good view of this. Alright, that one failed. So this thing's got a bad mass airflow sensor. It's either dirty or it's bad. And what it's going to do is it's going to burn up the 3/4 clutches in a hurry. So that's one of the prime factors that you have in one of these 4L60Es, where the 3/4s keep burning up, and you're going to want to address this big time. Alright, I think that's probably the last one that we're going to do. Everything is pretty much a version of something that we've done. You're going to find it in one of those areas, and that's what you need to do. On most of your later model vehicles especially, you're going to want to do this before you go drive it, because you can burn one up just going around the block if the settings were way off. Okay, catch you on the next one.